Unit 8, Exponential Functions. We're first going to look at 8.1, Graphing Exponential Functions from a Table. Your objective is to graph an exponential function using a table. Let's get started. First up, vocabulary. First off, what is an exponential function? Well, an exponential function is a function that changes by the same multiple each time. So here we have 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. What's happening each and every time? Well, what are we multiplying 2 by to get the 4? And then is that consistent for the rest? So let's see. I think we're timesing by 2. So that's 2 times 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. Times 2 is 16. Times 2 is 32. That is what it means to be an exponential function. The form for an exponential function is, let me get my highlighter back, this guy right here. Y equals a parentheses b to the x power. Both the a and b are going to be key features. The a value is your starting place, also known as your y-intercept. The b value is your r value, which is called your scale factor. It's what you're multiplying by. Okay, so all you need is those two things, and we can actually graph them. Now, with exponential functions come two different kinds, and those kinds are growth and decay. Think about if something was decaying, means we're getting smaller. So decay is when that scale factor, that r, or really that b value, is less than 1, meaning it needs to be a fraction or a decimal. Could be positive or negative, but it needs to be a decimal or a fraction, like 1/2, 3/4. It's got to be less than 1. That is called a decay. The opposite, of course, is growth, and that is when it's more than 1. So when that number is like 1.5 or 1.1 or 2 or 3 or 8 or 9, those would be growth. Okay? So that helps us know which way is the graph going to go. And we'll look at both of those today. The steps to sketch an exponential graph is first, you want to identify the y-intercept. That was that a value that we just saw with the form. It's your starting point. Then you're going to use that value to make a table. And we'll put that value most likely in the middle of that table. Then, once we get a couple of values in that table, which all we really need is 3, which is what we're going to be doing today, we're going to then sketch those points to make the exponential graph. So let's see this in action. First up, we have y equals 2 times 2 parentheses 3 to the x power. That's better. So remember the form for it, and I'm going to write underneath because it's really good. Y equals a parentheses b to the x power. Remember, a is our y-intercept. So our y-intercept here is going to be 0, 2, because that's how we write a y-intercept. So we're going to put that in the middle of the table. And then all we're going to do is go 1 below 0, which makes -1, and 1 above 0, which is +1. And then we're going to input these values in for x to find out what their y value is. So let's go ahead and go y equals 2 times 3 parentheses to the -1 power. And then we're going to, again, get our calculator out. Let me grab mine right here. And we're going to plug that into our calculator. I think I can put it over here. There, that looks good. We can do this, I think. It works. Yep. So let's go to run math. We're in here. I'm going to clear out my last thing we did, which was the quadratic formula when I showed you that. So here we go. We're going to go 2 parentheses, 3 parentheses, and then we're going to use our top hat to make this a -1. Enter that in, and we get a decimal, which we can also convert to a fraction. So it's whatever helps you graph. I'm going to go with the, let's go with the decimal. Again, it's good to know both. But let's go the decimal. Maybe that might help. So I'm going to say that's about 0. Actually, no, you know what? No, we're doing fractions. Yeah, we're going to do fractions. So this is 2/3. Now we want to do that again, though, for a +1. So we're going to go y equals 2 parentheses 3 to a 1. Well, I mean, you don't need a calculator for this because we could do PEMDAS on this. 3 to the 1 power is 3, and 3 times 2 makes 6. And let's just double check our calculator to make sure that does pop out. 2, parentheses 3, parentheses, oh, nope, parentheses going to pop up. 2, parentheses, parentheses, 3, parentheses, oh, wow, 3 even pop up there. Wow, this is really having a hard time. Must be a Monday. And then now raise that to a positive 1, and out pops a 6. So now we have our points that make that table. Now we can sketch our graph. Remember, this is your y-axis, this is your x-axis. So let's go ahead and graph now using these points. So how we're going to do that? Well, let's plot the y-intercept, this guy right here. So let's go up 2. So 1, 2, and we're going to put a point right there. Then it looks like we need to go 1 to the left, and it's at 2/3, which is right before 1. So that point is going to be somewhere right here. And then 1, 6, so we go 1 over, got to go up 6, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and put that point right here where 1, 6 will be. Then we can connect our points, which I'll do in red, and you're going to notice something. This line will never cross the x-axis, and there's a reason why. So we're going to start really close to it, then hit those points just like so, and this actually skyrockets up like a rocket, like all of us. And then there you go. We have just sketched our first exponential function. Let's try one more. Here, oh, actually let's go back and first, so let's talk about this. We talked about growth and decay, and I totally forgot about how we probably should talk about that here. So remember that b value is your common ratio. So it's that scale factor. It's what you're multiplying by each time. So we're multiplying by 3. Okay? Remember, when that b value is greater than 1, that is considered a growth. And a growth needs to look like this. This is considered a growth, which our graph does look like that. So it just reinsures it. So let's look at number 2. Again, now, write the formula underneath it or top it. I'm going to do on top this time, so I have more room down below. My y-intercept, of course, is the a value. So our y-intercept is 0, 2 again. So that's going to go right here. And then our ratio, though, is 0.5. So b, brain fart. So is this a growth or decay? That's a good question you just asked. So remember, this b value now is in between. Oops, I don't know why I put the equal sign. There we go. It's between 0 and 1, which means this is actually a decay, which means it's going to look like this. And we're going to see how it does. So remember, when we get our point, we put our y-intercept in the middle. We go 1 up to a positive 1, 1 down to a negative 1, and we're going to plug these into this function for x right here to get the corresponding y value. So y equals 2, parentheses 0.5 to a negative 1, get that value. And then also y equals 2, parentheses 0.5 to a positive 1, and get that value. Again, let's pop our calculator out here, and let's do this math real quickly. 2, parentheses 0.5 or 0.5, it's the same thing, raised to a negative 1 first, actually gives us a positive 4. Remember, we don't like negative exponents, so we'll talk about that one day of why this is a big number and not a small number. Then, of course, we got to do the other one. So now change that to a negative 1. Remember, you could always just go back up using your arrows, highlight it, scroll back over to that exponent, delete everything, and put a positive 1, or you can type it in again, and we get a positive 1 that pops out this time. So that 1 produced a 1. Now we can graph our points. So again, get our y-intercept first by going up 2 on the y-axis. And now let's graph the other 2 points. So one is negative 1, 4. So go up 4 here. So there is negative 1 on my x, positive 4 on my y right there. And then we have 1, 1. So 1 to the right, 1 up, which we already have that tick mark drawn, is right there. Then remember, we're going to come up high now and go down low by connecting all our dots and then getting really close to the x-axis, but never crossing it. Okay, there you go. Now you just graphed a decay function. We're going to do one more together, and then you got 2 more on your own. So here's number 3. This is just like number 1. So we're going to first put that form right above it so we can get our starting value, our y-intercept, which here will be 0,6. Our growth factor, our b factor, is 2. Well, that is definitely greater than 1, which means we are a growth. And I think I just said that when I wrote it. So hopefully you noticed that too, because I did. So again, plot that y-intercept in the middle, 0,6. Go 1 below, 1 up, and then plug them in for x, just like we've done before. Nothing's changed. So I'm going to write out both equations here. And then, of course, use my calculator to do the math. Or, I mean, one of them you probably could do in your head, but let's do both in the calculator. So it's 6 parentheses, 2 parentheses. We're going to raise it first to a -1. Enter that out. We get a +3. Now do the other one for a +1 here and see what this one produced. So I'll go to my calculator, type it in again, or edit the one above. So I'm going to type in again and raise this now to a +1, which don't need a calc for this because 2 to the 1 power is 2, and 2 times 6 will make it now 12. So we're going to put 12 here. And then now graph. Remember, this is a growth function, so it should look like this when we get done. And let's find out. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's my y-intercept. Get my other points, -1, 3. So 1, 2, 3 about right here. And then get my other one on the right, +1, 12. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Way up there is that point. And then now connect your dots. This one's going to come in low and then go through all those points. Nice curve, not that little hump that I did there. That's my bad. And then there you go. We have our growth function for number 3. Now it is your time to shine. So go ahead and pause this video and try number 4 out, please. Here's the correct graph for number 4. So this was a decay function because the b value, which is your scale factor, was between 0 and 1. Then we put that vertex, or not vertex, my bad, y-intercept right in the middle of our table, 0,15, because that was our a value. And then we went 1 up and 1 below, plugged those back in for x, and got our corresponding y values, plot the points, and have our decaying function. We got one more for you, and it's not really 4. I believe it's 5 on yours. And guess what? This is yours to do. So go ahead and pause this video and try this one out, please. There's our correct answer for number 5. It was a growth function because the b value was greater than 1, so it should be going uphill from left to right, or increasing, as we say. Our y-intercept was 0,1 because they don't have a value in front of the b value, the a value that we're looking for, so we're assuming that it's 1 because anything in front of parentheses is always a 1 or a -1, depending on the side. So we got that plotted. Got the rest of the points going 1 up, 1 down, plugged them in again, and got these to pop out as 1/3, and this one to be 3, and then we plotted our points. All right, now continue on to the Google practice slides that would be here, but now it's time for perfect practice. Go ahead and do those Google slide problems. Trust me, and I can't spell right now, but go ahead and do that because you're amazing.